I read a lot of bad job descriptions, but this time I actually want to read a really good one. This is what you're looking for in a data science job description. And the great thing is, more and more job descriptions are actually doing what this job description does, which is be really specific about exactly what it is that you're going to be doing, the team that you're going to be working on, the type of technologies that you may encounter, but it's personalized. I mean, you can see yourself either successfully completing this role or really not being a good fit for it just by reading the job description. You can tell this is a mature team. This is a leader who knows exactly what they're looking for. And if you're writing a job description, this is really the blueprint. This is what you want to do as far as detail, explanation, and targeting in order to attract your top talent. Now, if you're getting into data science or if you're trying to look for someplace better than where you are now, this is the type of language that you want to listen for. And the first thing is they're going to tell you a little bit about the company. This is fairly common. And so it's nice to see in really trash job descriptions, it just goes right into, hey, this is what you're going to do, and then doesn't tell you what you're going to do. In better companies, companies that are trying to explain their culture to you, you'll see the company go out of their way to explain who they are and what they do. Now, they'll tell you a little bit about the organization and some of the missions that the organization has. And that's what this job description does. It talks about, number one, Bees is the organization, and I hope InBev doesn't mind me using their job description as an example of what's amazing. But this is exactly what you want to see. And they're building a platform to improve, and then they're specific about what are their business objectives. You know the company is fairly mature because they're not just saying we use data science to and then generic language. They're talking about specific business problems and business cases that relate to profitability or cost savings or some sort of tangible benefit. You want that. They know exactly what the objectives for the team are. That's awesome. Next, they're going to talk about the team. What does the team contribute to that higher, that bigger role that they've just outlined above? How does the culture, how does the business model, how do the business needs all sort of tie into your day-to-day activities? And they're really specific about it. There's no ambiguity to each one of these requirements. I mean, develop smart pricing strategies. That's perfect. That's it. Develop smart pricing strategies, profitability, and they're focused on sustainability. That's kind of cool. It's interesting to see in so few companies do culture really come out in the requirements as well as that initial statement. So this is amazing. And visibility into market performance. That's perfect. And you can see overall adoption of the system and quality of usage. That's huge. A lot of companies are focusing not only on we've rolled out model-driven products or data-driven products for efficiencies or for customers to purchase, but in this case, they actually care if the model and if the product works the way customers need it to. Are they adopting it, and are we measuring their level of adoption? Huge. That's maturity. Analyze and aggregate platform or performance of features and levers to understand what is working and what degree so we can make informed decisions in the way forward. Yes, decision making. Love it. Determine individual client performance level levers to enable client-specific growth plans. Yes, customization, optimization. We love that. And then they get into specifics about the job. And it's not just these bullet points, where you say, here's your technology. No, they know what you're going to do. They can explain a day in the life. They can talk to you about not just the technologies you're working with, but it's a complete picture. It's talking about here's your role, here are the work products, and here are the impacts of the work that you do for us as a team, for us as a company. This is a statement of maturity, and it's also a statement of really they've adopted a culture of data science, of machine learning. They've put everything in place. They're not just talking data science and machine learning. They've put everything in place to support you. That's huge. You want to listen for language that tells you not only do they know what they need you to do, but they've also built the culture, the structure, and everything else you're going to need in order to be successful, because it's so bad in some companies when you hire these amazingly talented people. They show up and no one really understands, one, what they're supposed to be doing, but number two, no one's ready to adopt it. There's no culture, there's no support structure, there's no buy-in, there's no sponsorship. It's a train wreck, and you can get enormously demoralized by those types of roles. But this one is obviously not one of those roles. As a data scientist on the team, your role will be to build new and manage existing data pipelines from the several markets around the world to ensure we have quality data feeds. That's specific in a way that normally when people talk about data pipelines and sourcing, they don't get that specific. And they don't, again, you hear it, incorporating the business model, incorporating reality of where you're going to be getting all this data from. Build on top of this a robust information hub that serves as the default information source to all role players in the Bees Hub and markets where we operate. Again, specific. Now we're talking users. Now we're talking who. Who are we going to work with? Who are we targeting? A lot of times you'll see companies say excellent communication skills, teamwork. Now, you hear me talk about what a good job description does and talks to you specifically about who. That's who you're going to be speaking with. That's the level of the people that you're going to be interacting with. You'll also be expected to wrangle data and run aggregate and or client level analyses to deliver against the team objectives stated above. Tie them back in. These analyses will range from simpler statistical models to more complicated machine learning methods depending upon the application. And they're honest about that. You are, in some cases, going to do very simple descriptive modeling, and in some cases, you're going to be expected to be able to go beyond that, do prescriptive and predictive modeling. And that's amazing. They've sort of admitted to the reality that not every problem is this huge, massive, monolithic, we're going to go all the way with it. They're saying that there's a level of realism and you're going to be able to work on both types of projects. That's awesome. That's maturity. Not every problem is a data science problem. And they said it in the job description. This is why I love this job description. On any given day, your role spans doing a high-level presentation to a senior executive. Again, who, to get buy-in, to flying to our markets around the world to look for the insights behind the data. Yes, that sounds awesome. Actually sounds like fun, doesn't it? You'll be at the forefront of our journey towards transforming our traditional operations into a digital, data-driven business. Can you imagine how much control you have? How much latitude you're going to have in this role? Can you imagine? Seriously, doesn't that sound awesome? They've explained to you specifically what it is that you're going to be doing on a regular basis, and they've also given you a picture of the level of control and ownership that you're going to have over these products and the impact that your projects are going to end up having. If that's not, it's kind of cool. They're selling you this job, and they spent the top part selling you the job, selling you the team, selling you the objectives, selling you the business. That's what they're thinking about first. Not, hey, here's all the things that we're requiring you to have, and you must this, and you must that. They don't do that. Their approach is culture, objectives. What's your day going to look like first? Then, now let's talk about you. What do we think you would look like to be able to do all of that stuff above? Self-starter who can lead multiple strategic projects, manage priorities, and deliver results in a fast-paced environment. Perfect. Yes. That gives me a huge understanding that I'm going to be somebody who's juggling. So I better be good at multitasking. I better be able to handle some uncertainty and being spread a little bit thin. That needs to be something that I've done in the past and that I'm comfortable with. I like that. That's perfect. Lead from the front, not afraid to get your hands dirty in troubleshooting a data problem or chasing a modeling issue through resolution. That means that you are going to be supporting more than just, doing the modeling. You're going to be hands-on. And they don't just say hands-on. They explain what hands-on means to them, and that's great. It's a specific example. You're a creative thinker. Yes, creative problem solving. Enjoys challenges and has a passion for solving complex problems and generating multifunctional solutions. That's succinct, not just creativity. Like, here's an example of the type of creativity that we expect from you. You're going to be challenged. This isn't going to be your standard static role, and they've repeated this a lot, and so it's important for them to keep coming back to it because it sounds like that's a core responsibility that you're going to have. Strong communication skills. I usually clown on this, but you see this. They're going to explain to you what strong communication skills means to them. Able to clearly understand business objectives and translate them to an end-to-end data science or analytics plan. Not just the model, but understanding business needs, taking those business needs into your domain and creating solutions based on them. Yes, that's how you define communications. If you know what communications actually are. Have experience working with both highly technical and non-technical profiles on a day-to-day basis. You're working with both audiences. Again, not only what kind of communication skills, but who you're going to be communicating with. Experience working within revenue growth management. Again, targeted area. This is your domain. Large CPG retail, market, company type, relevant experience serving such clients in consulting. There's an alternative. Maybe you worked with clients. Experience working in a central analytics data science role within a large enterprise and international environment or product-driven venture-backed tech company. A plus. Yes. All of that's so specific. Like, these are the types of people who have been successful in our organization. You can tell they've hired from multiple backgrounds and they know which backgrounds are typically most successful in this particular role. So they're telling you up front things that a lot of times you don't find out until you've gone halfway through the interview. This is so much better quality for self-screening and self-segmentation. So I can look at this role and say, oh, have I done this before? Have I not done this before? And already, just in reading this, I know whether or not I'm a good fit. And they've gotten really specific about what makes a successful team member. Huge, huge. This is, like I said, this is why I love this one. So degree requirement, and you notice they don't require a master's or PhD. They just say, hey, this is the basics. And these are desired qualifications. They're not even saying all of these are hardcore requirements because a good hiring team understands flexibility is key. Not everyone comes from the same background, like I mentioned earlier. And so they're allowing for multiple backgrounds while just telling you, this is what typically is successful for us. 2 years of work experience is a plus. Awesome. Technical skills. And this is their stack. They just lay it out. There's no fluffy language. Here's our stack. Experience working with analytics packages. Here's our stack. SQL stack. Power BI and Retool are the type of visualization. This is, just specific, laying it out, not getting any flowery or, those crazy kind of requirement language that you get around in toxic teams. You get these weird sort of extra language inserted into your requirements and your tech stack, and they're not doing that. Foundational understanding and experience applying, not just knowledge of, but capable of. It's key language. Classical machine learning techniques to noisy data. So they're basically referring back to that original, we're going to be doing a little bit of descriptive, we're going to be doing a little bit of analytics work. We're not going to over-engineer anything that doesn't need to be over-engineered, and they refer to that. Distributive computational platforms, Databricks, PySpark, perfect. And I love that they didn't just say cloud. Distributed computational means they understand the technologies. And this is the person who wrote this is actually in the team and understands the core technologies. Deep learning and reinforcement learning is a plus. Awesome. Experience with, working with the data engineering team, scope out upstream and downstream data and pipeline requirements to maintain the model. Yes, you're going to be working with other teams who are going to handle parts of your workflow. Awesome. Optimizing a full end-to-end model pipeline. That's you. You manage and optimize. That's where you sit. Defining and implementing the right experiments to identify whether models are driving business value. Again, back up to, we don't just ship and forget. We don't just fire and forget. We actually look at the performance of what's in production and we continuously improve it. And this isn't vague language where you'll say CI/CD. They tell you what CI/CD means to them. And this sort of language is just as succinct, but it's also showing a level of capability on their part. So I will, and again, talking about what I need to be able to do, what I need to be able to be comfortable doing, take ownership. You're seeing this in a lot of job descriptions now, is taking ownership of understanding the business and operational problems at hand and how to best solve them through a data-driven approach. You're seeing this a lot. It's a great requirement. Create and maintain your own algorithms. You're responsible for this, and it better be good enough. You're not just going to hand it off. It better be good enough for you to maintain, because you are going to be accountable for maintaining it. That's awesome. Work fluidly across ABI's global and local teams and functions, and they tell you who. Not just like some random, they're telling you exactly who you're going to be working with, and they're laying it out. They're not kidding. This is the whole business. You are going to be talking cross-functionally to everyone, and they're specific about it to make data-driven initiatives successful. You're owning it, and they're defining what ownership is. Prioritize and find the most effective, efficient path towards solving complex, ambiguous business problems with data, keeping a mindset of simplicity, robustness, and speed above all. That's probably one of my favorite job requirements, because in one sentence, they've really summed up what a modern data scientist is capable of doing. It's less about the technology, but it's more about being able to solve problems. It's being able to take this complexity, ambiguity, uncertainty, and then solving problems. Managing that. You can deal with it. You're not scared by problems that aren't well defined, and you know how to define them better and then create solutions, because that's what we do. Simplicity, robustness, also known as reliability, speed, optimization, time to market, time to insight. This is awesome. This is as well as you are going to see a job description written, and this is an indication of a team you want to work with. This is a mature organization that's on board with this, front to back, top to bottom. Every team that they've mentioned you working with is on board. This has sponsorship from the top, and although it's not perfect, there's probably a ton of people who are still resisting. There are probably a ton of organizations. There are probably people in the sales organization, people in external teams, maybe even external companies, or people at other regions who haven't bought into this yet. And they're expecting you to be the one who bridges that gap. They've put it together. Now you have to extend it. You have to pick it up and be able to make this better. And they've laid it out for you. And it's excellent. This is a team you want to work for. I can't overemphasize this. So when you're looking at job descriptions, this is exactly what you're looking for. It's all of these key points. You rarely get all of them so well articulated in a single job description, but you're starting to see this more and more and more, that trash job descriptions are going away. And they're being replaced by mature companies with real leaders. A lot of companies have been spending the last 2 years bringing in a new wave of leadership, and this is indicative of that. These are real data scientists, people who've worked in your role and who have leadership capabilities and the strategic background to make these sorts of changes that result in far more successful initiatives. And those are the types of teams you want to work with. Now you know what to look for even before you apply.